And I'm going to take a bunch of pictures that I put in the report too.
Okay, Lindsay and Alex, this is Mark Rotundi from House Masters, and he's going to just point out a couple of things for you.
Alright, so since we're in the utility room, we're going to talk about a few things down here. First thing we'll start with is the water heater. Water heater is an A.O. Smith. It's about 6 years old. Biggest thing on the water heater I would suggest is just number one, today they don't want to see these type of flex lines anymore. And at the bottom of the gas lines, they want to see what you see here, which is a drip loop, which is more for cleaning. But really, just proper install would have black steel and a drip loop at the bottom. It's not going to make or break the way the unit works, but it's just, you know, ideally the way they want to see them put in today. So that we know. Same thing with the furnace and the hot water heaters. Just at the chimney area, it's all pretty well opened up. That's definitely something I would suggest sealing, cementing in, just so you don't get any carbon monoxide that wants to work back. The boiler, it's an older boiler. It's all 20 years plus. It's a Repco brand name. Gas lines on it are fine. Biggest thing I would tell you is it's an old unit. It worked today. Old unit, you can see you got definitely some rust and corrosion at the bottom of the unit, which is just vindictive of age, time, dampness, and a little bit of moisture in the basement. But again, it's operational as of today. We got heat to all the radiators, everything circulated through. It's just it's an old unit. Something I would suggest maintaining, servicing pretty much yearly, and just know it's something that if you're going to be here for longevity, something that you probably will update at some point. As far as plumbing, really most of your drain lines are all going to go into the utility room. Everything's underground. This pit right here is going to be where your cleanouts and your caps are. As far as the drain lines, your water lines come in behind here, and then you're going to have this handle right here, which is going to be your main disconnect. This is going to be the meter. The meter goes in sync with this wire. That they'll be able to read from the outside. But this is going to be your main disconnect, and the only other thing I would just tell you water-wise is just to know that the pipe coming in is going to be the original service line, which is going to be a lead line. Okay, so that main line underneath is a lead line. Doesn't mean it's bad, just means it's old. If you ever don't use the house for a couple weeks or a month for some reason, you go on vacation, the only thing I would suggest with a lead line is that you run a little bit of water in the house for 30 seconds just to make sure any water that sat in the lead line going to the street has a chance to really just go down the drain. If you run water for a minute or two, you'll be fine. Besides that, I wouldn't put a lot of emphasis on the line, just knowing that it's dated. Talked about the disconnect. This is going to be your the gas and the meter and whatnot. Something that not something you'd probably ever have to use, but if you ever bring these two holes together or these two holes together, that would be a way to turn off the gas from in the basement, which would obviously go to the entire house. As far as foundation, this is one room that you're really going to see the little bit you are going to see. Biggest thing I would tell you is the scratch coat of cement is just loose and worn. These are poured walls, which is good, and that's just tells you it's a little bit ahead of the time for the age of the house. But the only thing I would tell you is just know that they're obviously older. They got some age to them. Any place that's loose at some point, maybe re-scratching or putting cement or mortar back to the walls wouldn't be a bad idea, just so the rocks and the stones don't erode on you anymore. Same thing really to the floor here. Just shows you age, erosion. I don't know if they had an oil tank in this corner at some point. Is that what it was?
Yep, and they had that removed.
Yep, and you can see the filler and the breather pipe, so we know there was an old tank in this corner. Structurally wise, this isn't going to kill you, but just know at some point I would, put a little bit of attention to them. Okay. Framing wise, everything looked really pretty good down here. Let me take you to the finished area. The finished area is just not much you're going to see as far as framing, beams, columns. It's all pretty well finished off. You do see a few stains here and there. None of them read that they were wet, but at some point, whether it was a water line, which really don't have any water lines in this area. The only thing it could be is maybe a heat line, or maybe at some point mice or something like that. But none of it read, being wet as of today, which is good. Electric's going to be all over here. Biggest thing I would tell you in the panel is it's just an older style panel. You got 150 amp, a little bit of rust to the inside of the panel, not a ton, but just a little bit of rust. That's something I would keep an eye on. Running a dehumidifier in any basement is always a good idea. When I pulled the panel, everything inside looked good. Biggest thing I would tell you is you just got, majority of it's older wiring, either BX or cloth wiring, which just has some age to it. There's only a few room for breakers at the bottom if you're going to add anything. And the only other thing I would tell you is if you ever had to put another wire into the panel, they just don't have any room for access. At the top, this is where the knockouts go because they sheetrocked all the way on 3 sides. You can't get into the panel. So if you ever had to bring in a new wire, you would have to remove some of this panel. Okay. Drain lines all really over here. The little bit of plumbing you're gonna see. Laundry sink was functional. As far as everything you see, drain line, which is really just going to be underneath the half bath. You just got a combination of age. You got cast iron, lead, PVC here and there. It's just you got the old and new. It's really the only way to put it. The old you just have to keep an eye on. Some of the rust and the metal to the cast iron is something sometimes people paint and seal just to give you a little bit of longevity. Repacking the joints, with lead again is something that with time and age is just things that can be expected. But for right now, everything looks good, just old. Okay, a little bit of missing shutoffs, things like that. You'll see on some of the water lines. Again, just old and new. Okay. Let's see here. And that's really pretty much it down here. Biggest thing I would say is just know it's an old boiler. What else we want to talk about? I think everything else we can really talk about from upstairs, but the biggest thing was talking about that chimney, which is simple enough.
Okay.
As far as upstairs, let's take it upstairs.
Okay, I'm going to turn this